So I'm really excited to announce tonight that we are starting a new restricted fund. That means that all the money and all the donations that go into this fund are specifically for the purpose of closing that life-saving gap, of focusing on how we can help these neonatal and community cats and cats in general to increase our live release rate. And that fund is going to be called the Jackson Galaxy Life-Saving Popoki Fund.
So a few days ago, we had the honor of meeting Jackson Galaxy, the original cat dad, or cat daddy. Don't know if there's a difference, but it was a really hot day and we were filming outside. So unfortunately, the sun kind of killed our phones a few times, so we don't have his entire event, the entire speech, but here is most of what we got. And it was really insightful, and I highly recommend that if you like cats or dogs or any animals or the environment to follow his channel and to watch this video and learn how you can help cats and the humans helping cats and the environment, because cats do make a big impact, and so can you by just taking a few steps and helping educate people, let Jackson tell you.
Love of the word pet, they're family members. As a matter of fact, a recent study from the American Pet Product Association showed that over 85% of all people who have animals in their lives consider them family. We're at that place now. They're not, as the law would see them, equal standing with the suitcase you have in the closet. They are family. We're treating them as such, and that is the story of obviously everybody here. But we're still behind the 8 ball. Cats are still dying in homes where they're turned out, because you're ripping up the carpet or my curtains, or you're not going in the box, or I pet you too hard and you bit me. There's a great lack of understanding in animal welfare, which is something that I work on every day, and Kristen and I are here to work on together. But I think that it gets to the point where we have to now filter it down to the individuals in this space who love cats, else they wouldn't be sitting here listening to me jabber on about pseudovirus. Because in order to love cats, you have to be advocates at this point in time. You have to, you don't have to do anything, but it would be swell if they had a louder voice. A voice where they're not failed dogs, where they're not looked at through, dog-colored glasses. They are an amazing animal who has done that, and I truly believe this, done us the favor, done us a solid of hanging out with us all these years, And we, in turn, have done. And I'm not saying we don't do this for dogs and, chickens and turtles and bunnies and guinea pigs and everybody else that come into our home. But you have to learn their language in order to have an enriched life with them. Dogs have spent all this time figuring out human and all the ways that we can say, all right, my dog gets me. Did you know, by the way, that we've programmed things into dogs that we're not even aware of, like eyebrows, right? Eyebrows are a thing that we were just at some point totally unconsciously, we were like, I get it. I get when you go like this. Me and you were having a conversation, And again, the beauty is we didn't do any of it with cats. We allowed them to walk that straight line that was side by side with us all these years. Anyway, what I am trying to say is that we are trying to foster a tent full and an island full of cat advocates who are happy to be people that compromise with animals and have a true relationship with them where we express vulnerability, where we compromise, where we listen instead of just assuming someone else is going to listen to us, And I think any opportunity that you have to talk about cats, to talk about the dangers that they face, you know, it is not a safe world to be a community cat, to be a feral cat. It's not a safe world, you know. Back in LA, my wife has been doing TNR for many, many, many more years than I've known her. And she's found herself having to sneak into neighborhoods late at night and, you know, gently toss food under cars because cats are pests. Those cats are just pests. They walk on our cars, they leave footprints, and they don't deserve to be here with us because I don't even understand why they're here. You know, folks don't understand the inherent value they bring to neighborhoods, but they actually still do jobs, you know, whether they're on farms or the bodegas or any place in between. And I think having folks, it's not like we have to do it like the veins sticking out of our necks, like, you don't understand cats, you know? We can, education, what I just did with you guys, whether you knew all of that or not, I would assume that there's like one detail in what I just said that you went, well, hell, I didn't know that, you know? And that somehow enhanced their standing in your mind. And it's something that maybe you bring to somebody else. Here's the thing that faces cats in shelters, among other things, you know, because we know at the rate they reproduce, we're always going to have a problem. And we're always going to have a bigger problem. I mean, obviously, if we don't spay or neuter, if we don't do TNR, that's obvious stuff. Obvious. Sorry. Everybody knows what TNR is here? You guys all know? If you don't know, trap, neuter, return, my apologies. Trap, neuter, return is the way that we save cat lives in our communities. We trap feral cats, community cats. We spay them, neuter them, give them their shots, microchip them, put them back out there again, and then let the colonies over time do their thing. And they are. We have people in neighborhoods who keep a close eye on them. Snotty nose, got to trap you, bring them in again. It's a wonderful community, which if you're not a part of, hang out and we will pull you in. But beyond that, we could all, everybody here under this tent, around this tent, we can all adopt 50 cats. Don't. That's not what I'm telling you to do. What I'm saying is that we still won't make a dent in the problem. The only way to make a dent in the problem is for folks who never even thought of having a cat. There are a lot of people who will say to you, I hate cats. Like, I hate them. And what that means is they're afraid of them. You know? When they were kids, maybe they got bit, you know, maybe their brother or sister, they saw them get scratched, or, you know, that kind of thing. And that fear, of course, turns to hate. I don't understand you, so I hate you. Those are the guys that we have to get cats in their lives, you know, because that's what's going to turn the tide. So when I say, yeah, I got a plan for you guys, you're going to help MHS do for cats on this island, that's part of it. Part of it's just like, you know, let me tell you about cats. But then there's what your untapped superpower is that will really make a difference around here. And there's tons of things to do. TNRs is one of them. Participating, trapping, you know, just going out there and talking to folks in neighborhoods where, you know, there's 20 cats in a house, let them know what services are available to them. Whether it's fostering, we need foster parents in a big way. You know, we've talked about short-term foster, where we bring in cats or kittens that need socialization, give you a job, get them socialized, have them come back here the best possible versions of themselves, so they just fly out and become someone's family member. You know, short-term stuff. Obviously, kittens. Kittens need fostering. There's a lot of kittens being born right about now, and who doesn't want a house full of kittens? I mean, seriously? I mean, I don't. I couldn't handle it. Like bottle babies I couldn't handle, but I'm sure you could. Adopting, obviously, donating to the cause here, talking to neighbors who love cats and want to support cats. There is, nationally, here, even MHS, an incredible progressive thinking organization. Cats face an uphill battle. They do every year. The numbers are not getting where we need them to go. Like, we got to get them in homes, and for those who never asked to be in a home, we still have to appreciate them, respect them, deserve, but keep them healthy. These are all things that you guys can help with, and we are definitely going to talk to you about all of those individual things. Nothing, I mean, honestly, there's a lot of enjoyable stuff, and in that enjoyable work that honestly, I started working in a shelter 30 years ago this summer. This is my first job in a shelter, and there hasn't been one day, no matter how sad it can be one day and how joyful it can be the next, and oftentimes 6 different directions in one day. I am so proud to be a shelter worker. I'm so proud to represent shelter workers all these years, and the journey that we've taken to save as many animals as we have, to educate and spread the love, you know. And I think the work that's being done here is wonderful. And I look forward so much to this week where Kristen and I can follow folks around, talk about what's next. Cats need, you know, we're going to be talking about where cat housing goes from here. I mean, it's great. Cat Ohana is amazing. You know how much I love it. What are we going to do with it from here? How are we going to get cats adopted from places besides here? You know, out of homes. You know, because cats symbolize home life. Dogs we can take out. Take him for a walk with a vest on that says I'm adoptable, and talk to me about, you know, Clyde the dog who's with me. Cats, we don't have that. So it's word of mouth, it's pictures, it's videos. I'm telling you, I can feel it. I'm watching you guys look at me. It's a room full of advocates. Who already volunteers here? Yeah, I got y'all. Yeah. By the time you leave, we're going to have something for you that is not going to be heavy lifting, but it's going to be a source of insane joy for you. So stick around. We're going to talk about cats some more. I see you looking at me, which means, have I been talking for like an hour? Because it goes by fast. There's a surprise?
Yeah.
I hate that. Okay. Is it a happy surprise?
Yeah.
Is it not a litter of kittens, right? Because I got to go. Go ahead.
Jenny.
Oh, God. Anyway, thank you, because I'm scared of the surprise. No, seriously, thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting NHS in any way that you can. Kristen and I spend a lot of time with a lot of shelters. We've got something special going on here. We'd like to be a part of it. And what is it? What are you doing?
Thank you, Jackson.
You're welcome.
Just out of curiosity, how many people here are colony caretakers or have their own little stash of kittens in their backyard that they take care of? And about half of the hands that went up didn't go up, but we know who you are. You don't have to admit it. It's all right. Thank you so much, Jackson. I just wanted to thank Jackson so much for coming today and for talking to you guys and for believing in what we're doing and also for helping to make us better. We are about 10% below where we should be in terms of life saving for cats. For dogs, we're rocking it, right? We're at 96%. We've got enormous, long protocols in place for every dog that's facing euthanasia. They basically are like a case management approach where we meet, and it's an exhaustive, extensive process that I wish the public knew the lengths we go to. For cats, we've got some room to grow. We've got some room to get better. And I just wanted you guys to know that when we get feral cats in, and I don't think the public knows what we do with them. There may be the expectation from the past that they're immediately euthanized. They're not. We have a hospital back here full of kittens, from teeny tiny kittens. There's one right now that most of our staff are having to care for, the really extensively injured or sick kittens, but we are doing amazing things. We've got a cat in the back that had an elastic band around its neck about this big. Somebody reported a community cat looking a bit strange, and Dr. Fitz removed this elastic that was embedded about half an inch into its neck that it's grown into. You know, she's also got a tiny little kitten.
Ready for adoption now.
She's wonderful. Her name is Helen. She's absolutely adorable. Dr. Fitz is taking a cat home right now that has a mangled leg. It's basically missing a leg, but they're literally going hour to hour with this cat, passing it between staff on their weekends and on their off hours, bottle feeding every 2 hours. I mean, they really go the distance. It's really exciting. But we have a lot farther to go. And we just were at a board retreat yesterday with our new CEO, Lisa, and our board. And thank you so much for coming tonight. We've got 3 board members here. We've got Al Andrews. Hi, Al. If you live up country, you know Al. We've got Kanara Woodford. Kanara is our co-chair. Thank you, Kanara. She's been leading the charge. As well, we've got Judy Aikawa. She's also going to be our co-chair for this year. Judy writes all our grants. She's amazing. She wins us all sorts of wonderful funds and grants from our big company, our big grantors. Hi. So anyway, what I wanted to announce to you guys tonight was that we need your help to make up this last 10%. This last 10% are the kittens and the cats that don't have anywhere else to go. You want to drive them to CMAC? Okay, you know what that's going to cost you. We love CMAC. And we are the last stop, and we need to make up that gap. We need to treat them as well as we do the dogs. We need to give them that chance. Those neonatals that are so difficult to care for, they deserve a chance. So I'm really excited to announce tonight that we are starting a new restricted fund. That means that all the money and all the donations that go into this fund are specifically for the purpose of closing that life-saving gap, of focusing on how we can help these neonatal and community cats and cats in general to increase our live release rate. And that fund is going to be called the Jackson Galaxy Life-Saving Popoki Fund. And of course, Popoki means cat in Hawaiian. So Jackson, we're just really thrilled that you're here, and we're excited to be able to fundraise for this mission, knowing that you are part of the family and you're part of our ohana, and we're just really excited to have you here. And now Kristen is going to tell you a little bit more.
Did you know about this?
Well, I want to also just recognize the veterinarians in the room. Any of our vets, MHS vets, if you would just raise your hand and let us know where you are. They are so incredible. And when people like Jackson and I come, we don't often get such a warm response and a group of people so willing to tell us how we can do more. It's been the most exciting thing about working with MHS. I work with dozens and dozens of shelters a year, as does Jackson, and this is still my single favorite place to come because you all care so much. The cats that are still dying, they're little tiny kittens who we can't get fostered fast enough. They are victims of cruelty, neglect, and hoarding. They're animals that are savable, but saving them costs resources. And what we are building this fund for is to help have those resources so that when one of those animals comes in, we can buy that extra time. We can get that incubator. We can get them to foster that day because we've got the support to do it. They're all completely savable animals that we're going to target with this fund. We're hoping that for those of you that say, I'm broke, that's cool, but anyway, what else? I think that things are going to get harder in animal welfare over the next couple of years. The impacts of the pandemic have been felt nationwide. Animal intake is going back up to 2019 levels. Outcomes are slowing down. Are any of you feeling this in the own work you're doing, that you're having trouble getting animals into homes? All right, I see nods. Okay. So we're going to all have to do a little bit more, but it's not forever. It's just to get us through this tough time. Did any of you go through the 2008 housing recession? Anybody remember that? We had this same bump then, and we saw a bump in an increase of euthanasia, but things did stabilize. And so what we're going to ask you to do tonight, and also Lisa, our new fearless leader, needs to get on up here because this is her shelter we're doing this to now. So I'm going to turn it back over to Jackson and Lisa, and we want to know, is anybody willing to take home a cat tonight or tomorrow? Or kitten?
There it is.
All right, we got one. Cool. Yay. Here you go, Lisa. You guys, I'm going to let you.
Mutually beneficial relationship will take it, and that's it. Story over. So that was it. That was the entire story of us and cats, with the exception of some blips. You know, I mean, everybody knows about the Egyptians and how cats were deified and Bastet, the goddess of fertility and stability in home life and whatever else. But that, you know, cats were mummified, buried with royalty, that whole thing. About 12,000 years ago, this is just a really amazing discovery, because this was only a discovery that happened, I think, 10 years ago. And what was unearthed it was a port called Berenice, Cyprus. And it was definitive proof of the first pet cemetery. And the reason we know this, where they just weren't like working animals who were buried alongside of humans, almost all of them were found to be either in some way physically, challenged, missing legs, or, terrible arthritis, or they were old. They could not work. They weren't working animals. But still they were buried with versions of this and, crystals and trinkets. They were pets. They had a relationship. And so our relationship with cats, here's the beautiful thing about this. And again, I'm not dissing dogs in any way. I keep having to remind you. And I should just have a picture of my dog hanging here. But our relationship with cats, rock on. Thank you, Nikki. It was all about, we understood that it was compromise. We had to compromise with this animal. See, the thing is, the dogs are built to come to the communicative fence for us. Jump over that fence. Just be like, what do you need from me, In order to have a successful relationship with cats, we actually had to compromise. We actually had to go to the fence for them. So the fact that there's proof that 12,000 years ago we were willing to make that jump is kind of a beautiful thing, The relationship between cat and human, yes, we had the mutually beneficial working relationship. That is a thing. And that was a thing whether we were talking about the Roman Empire, or we were talking about, cats on boats going on trade routes all around the world, traveling on, here, well, not here, East Coast, and becoming a part of homesteading. Right down to, I'm a New Yorker, right down to like the bodega down the street. There was just this straight line of us saying, you go do your thing. The one thing that has made cats intensely successful over time where other species have failed. They know how to do one thing, they do it better than any other species on this planet. They are hunters. When I talk about cat mojo, and cat mojo, what's really funny is that nobody ever knows what that damn word means. Mojo, you know what the word mojo means? Sir, one person. 2 people? 3 people. Fine. It's still weird to me. Anyway, mojo, it goes back to like, the blues. Like the idea like I got my mojo working. And that thing is like this sort of inner confidence. It's not like cockiness, it's like confidence. It's a swagger that comes from you being in the place that you're supposed to be, doing the thing that you're here to do. And that sort of innate confidence is what makes a cat so, singular, so they are still doing, after all of these years, the thing, they're born to do that thing. I mean, listen, I'm not proud of the fact, that cats are not just killers, but they're like sadists, like absolutely, torture, and then maybe they'll eat them, but, But the point is, through time, that mystery, that level of, I don't know what this thing is. I don't know what it wants from me. I can't, it's not a dog, so I don't get it. Why do you want to be in my life? Because I don't get you. That's why they could be deified in one moment, and then we can fast forward to the Middle Ages, where they basically got blamed for everything under the sun, Half of Europe dies in the plague, it's got to be the cat's fault. Oh, and the witches, but the witches had cats, Papal decree in the 12th, the 13th century. The Pope is like, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm laughing about this because it's really pretty evil. But the Pope was like, cats are evil. That was the papal decree. Cats are evil. And from that point on, it was over. You go all the way to, the Salem witch trials, which was, at the end of the 1600s. Round up, burned at the stake, And it was all because, and honestly, it's the mystery. I don't get you. I don't get you, and if I don't get you, then I'm afraid of you. And if I'm afraid of you, I'm going to kill you. I just summed up human beings in like one. Yeah. But then, it's an amazing thing that the cats, just they've never had like an easy, middle. It's just been this like this, and starting in I think it would be let's just say the 1830s, because no one's going to Google this while I'm sitting here at home. But Queen Victoria, Queen Victoria was a noted animal lover. Like, she loved all animals. She wasn't much of a cat person, in all honesty. I make her into one because my whole head is like a cartoon, and so I always imagine her like, I love cats. I love cats. Cats are wonderful, and you will love cats. And of course, because you're her subjects, you're like, yes, Your Majesty, I love cats too. That's how my brain works. But, she did love all animals. As a matter of fact, the first animal welfare organization in the world, organized, was the SPCA in the UK. And she was the one who actually put the royal seal of approval on the RSPCA. That was Queen Victoria. You flash forward just a few years, now we got cat shows, and we've got people who are, and I'll get to this in a second because this is the funny part. There's many funny parts, but people are bringing cats into their homes. They're saying you are now a pet, But the thing, with that cartoon that's in my head, like the idea, like how long do you think it was between the time that Victoria was like, I love cats, cats are in my house, and that moment that she got like furious at them, for like, scratching up her carpet and pooping on the floor and doing all the things that cats would do because they're in a house. They're like, what do you want from us? You liked us. This is what we do, the idea, just on a side note, that the idea that we'd be like, okay, this is a box. You would pee in this box, you would poop in this box, and the cat's like, okay, we haven't met. This is not what we do, We mark our territory with this. We own territory. So where part of my mojo comes from. I hunt for things. That gives me mojo. I own territory. That gives me mojo. Box, And so there was this disconnect. And as long as, our society was half in homes and half still pretty agrarian and farm-based, they still did stuff for us, but we didn't get them. But the fact was that there was this advocacy starting to happen, even back then. Of course, here in the States, we were like 40 years behind everything. The SPCA in New York started, about 40 years later. Advocacy for cats, way down the line. Here's when I break down the history of cats and like milestones that they had. Does anybody know who Ed Lowe is? You ever heard of that name? Ed Lowe. Nobody. It's okay, you shouldn't. Ed Lowe invented cat litter. So that was in the 1940s. I want you to absorb this for a second. Actually, that was a funny one. Absorb it. It wasn't until cat litter was invented in the 40s, which means that was the official seal of approval. Now you can live in my house. Because before it was like, I'm just going to put dirt in a box or chimney soot, and I'm still going to be pissed at you because you're still tracking stuff all over the house. Now we have cat litter. And right around the same time, canned cat food takes off. Cats, we had a role to play in the armed forces. Sailors just not only were they kept alive and kept away from dysentery because of the cats, but they were pets on these warships. They had a part in our lives. They were no longer just, okay, mice are pooping in my food. We were starting to grow past that. We were starting to have a relationship with them. And yeah, you fast forward, that cats are still, it flip-flops with another search term, but the most searched term on the internet is still cats. Cats own the internet, which I know you guys know. That's a gift horse I do not look in the mouth. I get it. Cats are everywhere. And I think part of what makes them special is they didn't have to change. They never had to change. I mean, when we talk about selective breeding and breeds of cats and whatever, we're talking about like really the last 100 years. You take a look at Pseudolorus and you go to Ed Lowe and you go to like us actually having cat shows and whatever else. an evolutionary teeny tiny drop in the bucket. I don't consider cats domestic animals. I don't think they're domesticated. They're on their way, and the more that we adopt them and we pick the more friendly ones out and we TNR the ones that are more feral, the more kind of dog-like they're just going to become, which I think is sad. I still think that there's something like really special about the fact that we are still willing to compromise with an animal. I don't know about you guys, but I don't compromise that well with humans at all. You can ask my wife. I mean, I'm not good at that, the relationship thing. And I'm not talking out of school. She would absolutely be nodding her head right now. But when it comes to the cats, in order for us to live successfully with them, we have to meet them at the fence, and we do that. And we're at a point right now, cats outnumber dogs as companion animals. And I think the number, we're closing in on 100 million cats in U.S. homes. And a third of those homes have more than one cat. And the dogs, I think we're at about the 75 to 80 million mark. And as popular as they are, and as just everywhere as they are, and as long as that story is between us and cats, they are still left in the dust when it comes to being advocated for and being championed. And of course, part of that is definitely in the shelter system and beyond. Because if it's happening in the shelter system, it's going to happen in the rest of the world. I mean, the world that adopts them, It's our job, number one, to be okay with the fact.
Set the example for all of us. We can't sit on the sidelines and watch other people do it. For the next couple of years, we've all got to be doing it. So, Jackson, I want you to close us out, but will you also tell us a story before you do? Whatever is in your heart to tell us. I want you to tell us a story about why you do this work.
We're waiting for a shoe to drop here. What was it? What story? What? But there was a story.
All of them. They're all great.
I just want to tell this one story because I don't know what story you want me to tell, but this just happened, so I thought it was really fun and cool. Was that I was getting on a plane, not to here. It was a long week. Oh, I was in Kansas City. I was going back to LA, and I get on this plane, and I go to get into my seat because I was one of the last people on the plane, and I go to get in my seat, and I see that in the little. Like the little, what the hell are those things? The little console in between the chairs. This woman had a Coke there, and I was like, I know that I'm going to spill that all over her. So I said, excuse me, I'm sitting over by the window. Could you? And she stands up, and she goes and stands up. She sees me, and she screams so loud. I swear, I thought I was going to get tackled by the marshals or something, and dragged off the plane. There's a viral video of this crazy guy on a plane. She screamed. Because she recognized me, but that's not the point. The point was, she goes, and my cat is here. And I looked down, and she starts to give me the cat's life story, which I am all about. Just in case you ever wind up on a plane with me, that's one sure way. I mean, if your cat, that was the first time in all of my travels ever that somebody with their cat under the seat was next to me. So we talked about her cat the whole time and her other cat and their story, and of course answered some questions or whatever. But for 2.5 hours we sat there and we just connected, and I talked to her about what I'm talking to you about, which I said, she lives in Malibu, and I said, well, LA's got some amazing life-saving organizations, and we're in a really bad spot. And I just got her. So anyway, she's going to wind up fostering kittens, but that wasn't even the point. The point was that I had a great time with her and her cat. We took pictures afterwards, and of course the cat was just not psyched about takeoff, landing, turbulence, the whole thing, but she was really cool all the way. Anyway, that was the story I was going to tell you. Was that the story you wanted me to tell? Yeah. We're just, yeah. So anyway, now Jenny had said, right? Okay. So she asked if I would take any questions, which I'm more than happy to take. Now, with that said, if it starts with, I have a cat who, don't, because by the time you finish asking it, it'll be dark. And then by the time I answer it, it'll be tomorrow. So anything about cats in general, cats here, the plight of cats or any kind of general behavior. So that means like, don't say, you know, I have an uncle who has a cat who, I have, hypothetically, let's say I had a cat who. Let's try to keep it as general as possible, and yes, I will answer anything other than, yes.
Your history of the cats.
Wait, I'm coming
sure.
to you. I'm coming to you. Yes, sir.
So she has a cat. No,
Let's just say she had a cat.
your history of cats was mostly through the lens of the Western side. Tell me what happened in Asia or India or South America.
It was the same story. Yeah, no, I mean, it was trade. Trade routes dictated the spread of cats everywhere. And yes, they started, I mean, their relationship to humans really solidified in the Fertile Crescent, that area, which is now Iraq, Iran, and Turkey, that whole area there. But their story as mutually beneficial relationship, anywhere their trade went, whether that was grain itself, whether that was silk, whatever it was, and the Roman Empire just went. Psh. But you know the funny thing is, in terms of cats being quote unquote pets, they were also presented to, whether they were emperors or just like a guy you were selling, you know, wheat to or whatever it was in different ports. And as a matter of fact, that was the story. Anyone know the Hemingway cats, right? You know Hemingway cats, the polydactyls in Key West? That's how Ernest Hemingway was introduced to them. It was like a merchant, you know, sailor who came in and he said, you know, I saw this cat and I was thinking of you for some reason. And of course he fell in love, and now there's too many orange seven-toed cats in the Keys, but that was the beginning of that story.
Can I ask a follow-up?
You can, because I don't know where I just went with that.
So what do you know, or anyone know, about the arrival of cats into Hawaii?
Well, isn't that... Yeah, I mean, listen, it was probably the exact same thing. I mean, it's a very fraught journey. Cats on the islands, I mean, it...
Yeah, what is it, colonial time, or was it pre-colonial time?
I mean, I don't know. There was going to come a moment where I was like, someone's going to call me on my history. No, but I mean, we know that trade pretty much dictates the spread of most animals. I mean, they're all brought in somewhere. And I mean, but I know it was long enough ago that the idea of them being an invasive species, okay, I won't go into it. Anyway, there you have it. Anybody else? Yeah.
Okay, so my cat likes to eat grass, and what do you do when...
Wait, you have a cat who what? You can't resist.
I know, I was Googling the cat thing. So how do you get the cat to like not eat, or like it's gonna eat grass, but like it gets stuck in his poop, and then it...
Okay, so we're talking about poop now. You have a cat who... The question was all about cats eating a lot of grass, and there is nothing innately harmful about cats eating specific strains of grass. Grass that is treated with pesticides and that kind of thing, they should absolutely not be eating. That will definitely have a negative impact at some point. But the grasses that we call cat grass, wheat grass, oat grass, ryegrass, those that can be combined, that and there's other, you know, there's catnip that we can grow, there's mint that we can grow. Silver vine is a wonderful thing. Now we can actually grow that as well. And the actual act of eating those actually facilitates digestion. Even if it winds up in poop or vomit or whatever, it's just a way of, it's there to clean out. They know what to eat and when to eat it in order to, you know, and that, in that respect, them and most of the animal kingdom are a hell of a lot smarter than me. Like, I wonder if I should eat a salad. Anyway, but that's it. Just provide them with something that if your cat is craving that, just make it something that they can. I would just, again, lawns, yeah, you don't want them near that. Loudly.
Any advice for cats that don't get along?
Not that you have cats who don't get along. I mean, no, your cats are great. I have plenty of advice for cats that don't get along. Luckily, I've got about 400 videos on my YouTube channel and 4 books and 10 seasons of me getting my butt kicked by cats who don't get along. So watch me bleed, come for the blood and the tears, and stay for the lessons. But yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why cats don't get along. And I will say this, though. There have been many times, and don't, you know, TV is TV a lot of times. I mean, there's times where we have to tell a story that has an ending. I mean, think about it. When I go to people's houses, whether it's on the show or like in life, I go 3 separate times. And the first time we diagnose, we get a lay of the land, the dysfunction, human and otherwise, and then give them homework. Next time we come back, next time we come back. Each visit, when we did that for my show, each visit we were there for between 10 and 12 hours. Each one of those days. What is that? 12, 24, 30. Okay, 36 hours total, let's say. Not including all of the talking that I'm doing to them behind the scenes, whatever. Marriage counseling. For the love of... Anyway, we had to distill that down to 22 minutes of airtime.
Wow.
So there's a lot of storytelling that you don't see, and a lot of times it's like, oh, these cats are fine now together. There are a lot of times, like just with humans, you just don't like your housemate. It just doesn't matter. Like, I don't know if you had that nightmare roommate in college that you were like, there's nothing wrong with them. Paid the bills on time, cleaned up their dishes, cleaned the bathroom whenever you told them to, and you were just like, I just don't know why I hate your face. I just do. And then you're just like, so maybe I'm not meant to live with you, whoever you are. I don't think that it's something that we should necessarily over and over and over again, and like I said, I have tons of techniques, and they've worked for me plenty over the years. And at some point, there are relationships that are just broken. And, a lot of times you supervise, keep them separated, or think about what the greater good is. I know that's not something anybody wants to hear, but I'm all for it if, there is nobody better. My God, why am I going here? But there's nobody better. If you find that it's not working, you've tried everything that I have to offer, you have shown incredible patience and done it all the right way, and your cats aren't getting along. If there comes a point where you have to become the foster parent in that house and go, okay, how are we going to make everybody happier? As long as it happens from you, and then I think it is what it is. It's always about the greater good. And I've known plenty of people who have, toxic situations in their home and they had to make changes. I am not in any way, as I'm saying these sentences, I'm like, Jackson, you really should shut up at a certain point. Because 9 times out of 10, problems are easy. It's just we're missing, I think there's that thing, and we were talking about dogs, having disagreements and how kind of traumatizing that can be, was for me in my house. And I think that when people see cat fights, they assume that it is apocalyptic and that it is the cats doing that, I hate your face, get away from me. It is actually a lot of times, dysfunctional dialoguing. And it comes down to what time of day is it happening? What's going on in your life? Cats are energetic sponges. If there's stuff happening in your life, if there's an incredible amount of stress in your life, cats just soak that in, put it back on each other, redirect it into weird places. The most valuable exercise that I teach is called stop the clock. Because you're living in the story. It's pretty easier for me to come in the house because I am not living the story. I'm not emotionally deep inside it, That way I can do the stop the clock. I can look at it and go, what time of day? Where's the energy at? Is it just that one cat is just like, up here, and the other cat's like, I don't like that energy, and something happens, just because your kids just came home from soccer practice and they're bananas. It could be a lot of things. Stop the clock, take a good sort of objective look at what's going on, write down things that are body languages. One of the hugest traps is, I think that Clyde hates me. Clyde hates me because he barfs in my shoe. And if you think I'm making that up, I'm not. That Clyde hates, this person. Clyde hates this cat. He's sad. He's lonely. Those sort of qualifiers. Not that I'm saying that cats don't have rich emotional lives. In that moment, that's not your job. In that moment is, I observe this, tails, ears, eyes, where in the world they're occupying. Under the bed, in a closet, on top of the fridge, like this, That tells you, not I'm sad, but there's anxiety to be had here. And anxiety leads to bad conversations between cats. You know what? That was the simplest question. Like, your question was literally 6 words. And I feel like I've been going on for 14 minutes. So,
Did you ever get mad at any of the people?
Did I ever do what?
Get mad at any of the people on your show?
Yeah, everybody. I mean, did I ever get mad at the people on my show? Yeah, I get mad all the time. But it doesn't do me any good. It doesn't do anybody any good. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, I hang out with animals because I don't like people. I love people. And I love relationships. And I actually see myself more as a relationship coach than I am anything else. But there are plenty of people who are just like, they have no desire to learn. They have no desire to grow. They have no desire to do anything except bend the cat's will around their finger somehow. You know what I mean? Or bend their will around the cat. I don't know, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I want it this way, and if I can't have it this way, the cat leaves. And those are the people that, if I can't get that much in there, then I get really angry. And it wasn't until, you know what the funny thing was? We were on the air for 10 seasons. That was a little over 100 episodes. Every episode, we have 2 families that we go to. By the end of that run, I do not have the patience for you right now. Like, this is what you're going to do. And if you don't do it, I'm going to make an idiot out of you on TV, and the whole world is going to hate you. So do the work. Seriously, who does that where, like, you are on TV? There's millions of people watching you not do your homework and sit there with your arms folded and like, do that whole thing. Like, somehow a cat is such an insult to your life. I was done. Yeah, I was done. Luckily, we started doing like Cat from Heaven pieces. You know, it was like, oh, this is place that. It's like, instead of like the bad people. Yes.
How did you choose the homes to go into during the shows?
How did we choose the homes that we went into during the shows? It fell into a couple of categories. One was morbid fascination. Like, I can't believe that's actually going on, and I want a piece of that. I want to know what's going on. One were like the simple adjustments that you're watching, like a family system fall apart over, like I just said, like he's throwing up in your shoes. And I just those were things I knew that I could. And then there were the really, really hard ones. And whether I'm just a masochist or not, I don't know. But you know, always you're dealing with TV. They want stories. They want, you know, but I always kind of had the last say on that one. And either I was going to be able to really make a difference, or like I said, morbid fascination. Like, what are you guys doing? And I had to have a piece of that. Yeah.
Do you know if any of the prisons have contacted that one place that?
Pretty amazing, right? She's referring to a prison. It was a max security prison in South Carolina that we featured. It was amazing, wasn't it? Those guys were amazing. So anyway, the inmates in this place, and it was one of the most notorious prisons in all of South Carolina, and it was, you know, supermax. And they instituted a program in that prison because the euthanasia rate in the county animal shelter was 100%. So if you walk in there or carried in there, however you come in as an animal to that shelter, you weren't coming out again. So one of the women who was, a real animal advocate in the area started this program where dogs and cats were fostered by inmates, and inmates were dog trainers. They'd learned all of the techniques. The dogs were with them at all times, and through training got them adopted. The adoption record was bananas. Then there were the cats. And if you didn't see this episode, everything that happened there, you walk into this cell block, and cats are just walking around. And the thing was, they were the most well-adjusted cats I've ever seen. And I'm like, well, this does not add up. Like, there's something wrong about watching these cats just roam, you know. And some of the things that we saw, there was this one guy who was one of the biggest cat advocates there, but every inmate who had a cat was assigned a cat. Those cells were 2 of these was a whole cell. And you had bed, toilet, goods, litter box, right? Litter box, and the cat sleeping with the guy every night, and this this demonstrating, and it was amazing. And it was this one guy. This one didn't actually make the show for whatever reason. I don't remember why. Anyway, so this one guy, we were talking. Oh, it was because it wasn't being filmed. That's why. So I met this guy who was one of the cat foster dads, and he had been in that prison since he was 18, and he was going to die there. He knew the crime was horrible, and that was that. And yet he was now on his like 5th or 6th foster cat, each one of them winding up in beautiful homes. And the thing is, oh my God, I do not want to freaking cry. But anyway, that's like 2 times tonight, that he said, and I don't remember the cat's name, but his first foster cat, and he said, I've been in this jail for since I was 18 years old, and then I met, Frankie, and I suddenly understood what love was for the first time in my life. And it was such a beautiful moment, because the thing is, he knows he's never getting out of there. But it's okay in that moment, because he will touch these lives, and he knows he will touch these things. It was an insanely beautiful thing. I know, man, I'm doing it. Are you guys ready for me? Is that why you waited till I cried again? So thank you for that. Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you. All right, you guys. I'm going to turn it back over. No more surprises. I mean, it was a beautiful surprise. What? Oh, God, they're doing it again. I already have a hat, and I have a...
I'm not.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's awesome, guys.
What'd she get?
You guys, big shout out. We just got our first $100 donation to the Jackson Galaxy Life Saving Provoking Fund. Let's save these cats. Woo! Thank you.
Carrie.
This is Olena. And I'm Isaac.
We're moving to Hawaii! But first,
we're driving from New York City to Seattle
with Smiley, our 9-year-old rescue pitty,
in our Tesla Model 3, equipped for camping.
And we are funding this trip with our Etsy store.
Meaning we are bringing around 50,000 earrings.
And 500 envelopes.
And our label printer.
On this 11-day cross-country road trip.
Subscribe to the Travel Bug Bite today! If you liked our video, don't forget to click the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. Check out our videos from all around the world and let us know what you'd like to see next.
Thanks for watching!